The name originates from an Irish tale about Stingy Jack, who tricked the devil and was denied entry to both heaven and hell. Given a lit coal, he roamed eternity with it in a carved turnip, inspiring jack-o'-lanterns. Originally, Halloween, also known as All Hallows' Eve, marked a time when the barrier between the living and dead was thin. Carved turnips were used in Ireland to repel evil spirits. This practice migrated to the US, where pumpkins, being larger and easier to carve, replaced turnips. Over time, the tradition evolved beyond its spiritual origins. While the ghosts of today's Halloween are often portrayed as spooky and eerie, in ancient Celtic times, they were much friendlier. This is because All Hallows' Eve, the holiday from which Halloween comes and upon which it is based, supposedly made it possible for the deceased to walk the earth, including dear friends and family. Yes, the Celts believed that they could be visited by the spirits of their deceased loved ones, so they would actually set extra places at the dinner table or leave treats for them to find. Actually, the vampire bat connection only came about in the 19th century with the publication of Dracula. But bats have been associated with Halloween for much longer than that. The Celtic festival of Samhain, which was held on the same night as Halloween is today, typically featured large bonfires whose light attracted insects. The insects then attracted bats, who swooped down and away to feast on their prey, unwittingly creeping out the Samhain celebrants. For centuries, black cats have been associated with superstition and bad luck, a reputation they have rather unfairly earned since ancient Celtic times, as well as medieval times. The Celts believed that very bad people could be turned into cats, and those cursed by black magic would be turned into black cats. Black cats were cemented as part of Halloween symbolism, though, after the Salem witch frenzy in the US in the 17th century. Black cats were thought to be witches' familiars, their companions for evil, as well as the embodiment of the witches themselves, having supposedly turned into black cats. For centuries, when a woman operated outside of normal women's behavior, that is, meekly, humbly, and subserviently to men, she could be branded a witch and tortured or killed. Religious fervor in the medieval, Renaissance, and even early modern periods focused heavily on avoiding the influence of the devil, under whom witches were supposedly directly influenced. Witches, meanwhile, were believed to be able to summon evil spirits, so the two traditions enmeshed, and witches, plus their black cat familiars, became symbolic of Halloween. The close association of witches with brooms is thought to have come about due to an old pagan custom, where farmers would essentially dance with their brooms to encourage crop growth. The idea of a broomstick dance then bled into common accounts of witches flying through the night on their way to do evil. Naturally, as witches came to be associated with Halloween, so too did the custom that they carry brooms and fly through the air on them. Back in the medieval and early modern days, cooking, in houses without a designated kitchen, was done over an open fire, in big pots. The cauldron, as a symbol for Halloween, is also closely associated with witches. Naturally, it was assumed that witches were brewing more than soup or stew in their cauldrons. They were whipping up recipes for evil potions, including ones that gave them the ability to fly. Samhain, that Celtic ritual that saw out the harvest and welcomed the coming of winter, was in some ways absorbed by the Catholic faith. Of course, we now have Halloween, or All Hallows' Day, when the worlds of the living and the dead are closer than ever, and you might expect more than just spirits to visit you. Some believe that the actual skeletons of the dead, including and especially their skulls, may call on the living. There is also the Mexican tradition of Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, held between November 1st and 2nd, where brightly colored and festive sugar skulls are prominent. Tombstones are inexplicably linked to Halloween because of their association with death, a major theme for the holiday. From where else would the dead rise again but a graveyard, and what would the skeletons have to push over and aside? That's right, the tombstones. These days, tombstones are very much a part of Halloween decor, with some people setting up makeshift graveyards in their front yards using foam tombstones. The full moon at Halloween, with the last one happening in 2020. The Celtic tradition of Samhain held that the spirits of the dead were able to come back to earth among the living. Those who wandered did so under a full moon,